That's my dog standing guard.
Existence alone is enough to expose their fears. Greatness has never been welcomed with open arms. The world does not celebrate those who challenge the status quo while they are still rising. It resists them, tests them, tries to break them. History has shown this time and time again. Those who dared to dream beyond the ordinary, those who walked a path not yet paved, were first doubted, then ridiculed, then betrayed. But look at how the story always ends. The doubters fade, the betrayers regret, and the one who is cast aside stands taller than ever before. Some people will turn on you simply because they can no longer control you. They liked you when you were quiet. They supported you when you stayed in your place. The moment you step into your own power, the moment you show them that you do not need their approval, they will turn bitter. Not because you changed, but because they can no longer manipulate the version of you that suited them. Pay attention to who grows distant when you grow stronger. That distance is not your loss. It is their inability to keep up. There will come a time when you must make a choice. You can dim your light to keep them comfortable, shrink yourself to fit inside the small world they want you to live in, or you can step forward, alone if necessary, and embrace what you were meant to become. The choice is not an easy one. It is painful to let go of familiar faces, to watch those you once trusted reveal their true nature. But the pain of staying small is far greater than the pain of outgrowing those who refuse to grow with you. You were built for more. You were never meant to live in the shadows of other people's fears. Do not let their insecurities dictate your path. Do not let their betrayal make you doubt your own worth. The very thing that made them turn against you is the thing that will set you apart. They may have walked away, they may have tried to bring you down, but they will watch from a distance as you rise, and by then it will be too late for them to return. You will not be waiting, you will not be looking back, because what is ahead of you is far greater than anything left behind. There is power in silence, there is wisdom in restraint, there is strength in choosing to say nothing when every part of you wants to respond. When you have been wronged, when people have lied about you, turned their backs on you, underestimated you, the instinct is to react, to prove yourself, to defend yourself, to make them see their mistake. But what if the greatest response is no response at all? What if the real power is in letting them wonder, letting them talk while you remain still, letting them wait for a reaction that never comes? Some people expect you to break. They expect you to fight, to lash out, to lose control. That is what they want. Because the moment you step into their chaos, you become just like them. The moment you engage in their games, you lower yourself to their level. And that is what they hope for. To drag you into a battle where they feel powerful, to provoke you into making a mistake, to distract you from the path you were meant to walk. But you are not here to play their game. You are not here to explain yourself to people who were never listening to begin with. You are not here to waste your time proving anything to those who are waiting for you to fail. There is nothing more unsettling to your enemies than your silence. They will wonder why you are not reacting. They will question why their betrayal has not broken you. They will expect an explosion, but instead you give them nothing. And that nothing is what terrifies them the most. Because in that silence they are left alone with their own choices. They are forced to face the reality that you do not need their validation, that their actions hold no power over you, that their absence does not diminish you in the slightest. Walking away does not mean weakness, it means you have better things to focus on. It means you understand that your energy is too valuable to be spent on people who have already revealed their true nature. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them create their own stories. None of it matters, because while they are busy trying to bring you down, you are rising beyond their reach. Your silence is not surrender. It is a declaration, a statement that you refuse to engage in battles that are beneath you, that you are not here to convince anyone of your worth, that you are not defined by the opinions of those who never truly saw you, and one day they will look back and realize that their betrayal did not break you. While they were caught in the mess of their own making, you were moving forward, untouched, unbothered, unstoppable. Because those who are truly powerful do not waste their time in the noise. They let their success, their peace, and their presence speak for them. There will come a day when everything will make sense. The pain, the betrayal, the silence you chose instead of revenge. It will all fall into place like pieces of a puzzle you could not yet see. Because life has a way of balancing itself, of ensuring that justice is served. Not always in the way we expect, but always in the way that is deserved. The people who betrayed you, the ones who thought they could walk away without consequence, they will come to realize something too late. You were never the one who lost. They were. Time has a way of exposing everything. It unmasks deception. It reveals truth. It brings to light what was hidden in the darkness. And those who wronged you, those who thought they had won, will wake up one day and realize that the very thing they tried to destroy is now something they can no longer reach. The person they betrayed has grown beyond them, become stronger, wiser, untouchable. And by the time they understand the weight of their actions, they will also understand that there is no going back. There will be moments when they look for you in the places they used to find you. They will expect you to still be there, still waiting, still affected, still hurt, but they will find nothing. Because you are no longer where they left you. You have moved forward. You have built a life that does not include them. And that is where their real punishment begins. Not in anger, not in revenge, but in absence. Because nothing haunts a person more than realizing they can no longer touch what they once took for granted. That is the final justice, the ultimate closure. Not in watching them suffer, not in hoping they feel what you felt, but in knowing they no longer have access to you. They do not get to see what you have become. They do not get to be a part of the success they once doubted. They do not get to stand beside the person they tried to break. Because some betrayals are not meant to be forgiven. Some people are not meant to return. Your strength is not just in surviving what they did. It is in thriving despite it. It is in taking every wound, every lesson, every moment of pain, and turning it into something greater. It is in proving, not to them, but to yourself, that they were never essential to your journey, that their departure was not a loss, but a gift, because they were not meant to stay. They were only meant to show you who you are capable of becoming when nothing and no one can hold you back. And as you stand in that place of power, looking at the life you have built, at the peace you have earned, you will understand something profound. They thought they buried you, but all they did was plant you. And you have risen, stronger, wiser, untouchable. And they will live with the knowledge that they can never undo what they tried to destroy. So let them talk. Let them walk away. Let them celebrate your downfall, because their moment of glory is fleeting, while your rise is inevitable. They betrayed a real one, and now, karma is dragging them to hell, while you are walking straight into your destiny. Now, go prove them wrong. Thank you.
I will forever be the person who says, it's okay, I understand. Even when my heart is breaking into pieces, I've always been the one to put others first, to listen, to comfort, to support, even when my own world is crumbling. It's not that I'm trying to be a martyr, it's just that I care so deeply for the people I love that I'd rather endure the pain than see them hurt. I'll swallow my pride, push aside my feelings, and pretend everything is fine, even when it's not. Because their peace of mind is more important to me than my own. Every time I say, it's okay, a part of me wishes someone would notice the cracks in my voice, the hidden sadness in my eyes, but I've learned that not everyone sees the pain behind the smile, and that's okay. I keep saying, I understand, even when it feels like no one understands me.
Welcome. If anybody can hear me, of course, let me know in the chat. If you're here, where are we? This is the BS I Love Me Show, sponsored by LMC Radio, where loyalty means everything. And Omega Enterprises. We're here at the Omega Enterprises studio, and of course, the host is me, Omega, aka a lot of other things. But today, we got a special program. If you guys are following what's going on, I would like to encourage you to get into the chat and start telling me a couple of things here. I tell you, I've been getting sick, people that have been vaccinated. By wishing everyone that's out there that we have options and choices that we really don't. And we need to be conscious and subconscious about both of these things. These are two different things. One is an abstract way of thinking, and another one is a little bit more literal. So one is in the now, and one is everything included. We're not going to get deep into that. But what I will start is by saying that some battles were not meant to happen. Some battles, you have to pick and choose your battles. You have to make sure that what you're saying is worth the repercussions that come from it. It's very difficult to say things at the right time, at the right climate, and the right volume, and the right tone. It's almost like you have to reinvent the wheel, especially a person like me. I had a very difficult time changing back from anger to calm or reserved or conservative. And now it's become second nature for me not to get to the extreme, because now, because of my education, because of my experiences, because of my willingness to learn how the moving parts of life work, it comes to me a little bit more natural because I practice this on a daily basis. I also preach this. I also try to share this with the audience and with a lot of people, whoever's willing to listen. So you have to start this year out as strong as possible. You know, I would suggest that you write a lot of things down, of things that you want to accomplish this year that's coming. What do you want to accomplish? Like, tell me that you have some type of accomplishments this year, because otherwise you're looking at the same thing year in and year out.
Baby.
A lot of the same thing, which is, to be quite honest, is a whole lot of nothing, because we need to grow regardless. Now, I cannot tell you how much you need to grow. That is up to you, depending on how much you want to grow. And of course, I have my standards, and you have yours, and we have a common standard, which is always underrated, because I don't talk about common, I talk about elevating, I talk about empowerment and growth, which is living above the normal. The normal right now hasn't changed in quite some time. The social media aspect of it has definitely impacted and changed.
Oh my
the
goodness.
forever changed the way things are done.
Jeez, I hate this.
Which comes the speed of light. Pure. It goes out there in a heartbeat.
That's why I'm
information just as well.
Put it on my
The subconscious
blankets.
is in the now. And the conscious mind is an abstract. What does that mean? We're not going into detail of what those two means. And as long as you're utilizing both, can you utilize both? Is one more controlled than the other? Is the other one a composite of a whole bunch of things coming together? And believe that you have influence in both. You can go to the banks, both banks, subconscious and your conscious mind. And you can live in the now based on the future, what you want to see, and based on what you have done already. Hey, how you doing? Nice to see you again, love. Amelia in the house. I see you. Always a pleasure to have you on board. I know you're listening, even though sometimes you don't say anything. But yeah, today we're talking about, you know, decisions and options, and we're talking about how we misinterpret or misguide ourselves, kind of like creating a lot of illusions, and too many illusions are like misdemeanors in the court, where too many misdemeanors, a lot of misdemeanors become felonies. Small level lies become capital lies. Small crimes turn to bigger crimes, and so on and so on and so on. And then there's different levels of felonious activity, which felonies, 1 year in jail minimum, and then a misdemeanor is up to a year in jail. And I'm only saying that to give you an analogy and a comparison, so that you can see how this works. Sometimes we make decisions when we don't even have to, and that brings me to one of people that have had laws, you know, like Murphy's Law, Faulkner's Law, stuff like that. Faulkner's Law says, when you don't have to make a decision, don't feel compelled, do not feel pressured, do not feel as though everything needs a decision. Sometimes you just need to let it rock. Sometimes you need to let it roll. You don't say you need to let it go. Let it be. Whatever it is going to turn into, especially if you're keeping it on bills, because that's what growth and development is when you create a
Oh my god, I don't know what the open.
for your
I like you locked up.
or just plant the seed and then let it grow, and then you have to kind of change the pot when it gets bigger. You have to, if you want, you can add some vitamins, you can give it better water, you can give it more sunlight. You have to put that seed in sunlight. So there are things
Oh my
that
god.
in the inception, the beginning of
God.
planting a seed, and you know, okay, let's say a tree or a big bush, whatever the case may be, or even a flower or a bush of flowers. In order for that to get to that level, it needs assistance in the beginning. And that's weird because on Earth, before man,
Doggy, he's hungry.
it was already agriculture. So think about that. How did it get there? How would they know? So another thing I wanted to talk about was Wilson's law. Now Wilson says if you put information in intelligence first, then the money will keep going. So think about what that's saying. Is that if the information that's processed moves into intelligence before anything else, in other words, use that information in an intelligent way, process that information in an intelligent way, utilize the components of that information so that when you're transferring raw data, because it comes to you as raw data, and then it gets processed into information, believe me, it happens fast. And if you do things too fast, then you miss some elements, some key components, and essentials that come with those lessons. So don't sell yourself short. You know, now remember, these things that I'm sharing with you, they may not be exactly the way they said it, but it's the way that I'm interpreting these things. And in such cases, maybe I'm a little bit more have preference towards things and like to use things in a positive way. I've had a lot of arguments throughout the years and debates about how you can utilize something negative and turn it into positive. Anything. There's nothing negative you can't turn into positive, and I'm a firm believer of that. Okay, so Gilbert's Law. Gilbert's Law talks about the biggest problem at work is that nobody tells you what to do. That's what Gilbert says. And that's one of the biggest problems at work is that nobody tells you what to do. Like, you're there, okay, do your job. What job? What do you want me to do? Over again, there's no change, there's no growth, there's no these are the moments that in your life that you make a decision that you don't have to. Stepping into something you don't have to. Saying something extra that's not necessary. That is doing too much. We talked about growth as a whole, doing too much or not doing enough. We talked about that. So when you make a decision that's not necessary, or it doesn't call for a decision and you decide to go and get involved and do something because you feel that that's the need, that's a mistake. And you did too much. Learn from that mistake so that you know not to just turn off the energy, turn off the motivation, but to control it. You know, New Year is looking good. New Year's looking fantastic. This is the best year I've ever had in my life. 2022 has been the greatest year ever. People will say, yeah, because he just started. No, we're taking this mentality with us in 2022, and I'm going to protect that mentality instead of feeling like I have to. Learn something or reach a certain status. I'd rather just be that status and then work on maintaining it instead of always reaching a goal when it comes to our feelings or processing our own vision. That's not the way it works. I am here and I'm here to stay. I'm not going anywhere. You know, so that being said, I'm ready to do the things that I'm doing right now. I was born to do these things and I'm going to do these things to the best of my ability. I'm going to get better and I'm going to be able to practice these things and put all these formulas and all these visions into an expressive, way of going into things. But anyway, let's not get lost in the content. Let's go right back to again, Gilbert's Law, the biggest problem at work is that nobody tells you what to do, but there's also a lot of expectations. So Gilbert's Law says, if you can write the problem down clearly, and the matter is how that resolve. And write down what the problem is, you're more than halfway there. Think about that. So, assuming that you're gonna be clear about what you're writing, you have to really understand and get to the root of the matter of what is the problem. Like, what's the problem? What is it affecting? If you can do that, then you're already halfway there. Think about that. But if you don't do that, then nothing's happening. Now you're not making any decisions at all. Now you're not being progressive. Now you're not being proactive. You understand what I'm saying? And you have to honestly be aggressive in that area. We make decisions to be aggressive because we're allowing ourselves to react instead of being proactive. We're reacting. And reaction is controlled by emotion usually because reaction is something that happens fast. Reaction is fast. It's a bounce mechanism. You say something, I say something, you do this, that results on that. It's a fast result. But if you just take a few seconds before you answer or react, it's called prudence. You'll be showing prudence, which is the strength to think before you say it. You may not have to say that, and that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you right now. When you're doing too much, I'm guilty of it too. I say some extra things, it's like that extra when I'm having a conversation with certain people, you want to have that extra thing, and you minimize that to a limit where it's not hurtful or non-competitive. It's like that extra oomph. I am also guilty of that. You have to be careful with those extra words at the end because it doesn't let the fire die. It leaves the fire burning, and sometimes you gotta let it go and then move on to the next thing because it just lingers way too long. So I can share my screen with you guys right now. I'll go right into this, which is Murphy's Law. It's one of the most common, laws that we speak about. And what does it mean? It says if anything can go wrong, it will. What can go wrong will go wrong. So let's talk about that because if you look at it in a different way, you could also say that the more you fear something, the more it will happen. You're kind of manifesting things to happen, but you're bringing it with an attitude of fear instead of an attitude of preparation. Let's bring that back a little bit. The more you fear something, the more chances that it will happen. Why? Because when people fear something, they think about it a lot. You're putting that energy out there. But it's coming into like a surprise party where the person you're trying to surprise already knows what's going on. Because you talk about it so much that it's not the same thing. It's not genuine. So if you could at least engage in understanding that there are things in life that are going to come to you regardless of what you say or do, and you stop acting like you're surprised when things that you know are going to happen, you're like, oh, well, what am I going to do now? I don't know. Did you epiphany moment. Think about what I'm saying. You can't prepare yourself for everything, but the better you prepare yourself,
Let's
the
go,
more
Radners.
prepared and the more natural it feels when things that you're not prepared for happen. Because you have to leave some type of room in your life for the unexpected. So what do? You work on the things, stop a study of something that happened in the past. Hey, in the past, in 2010, Anthony did this, and this is what happened as a result of that. Everybody did this. So guess what? I could go into that file and say, hey, no. We're not going to do that anymore. We're going to do things differently. We're not actually going to get into that at all. There are decisions that you have to make where you have to eliminate it completely. There are decisions that you have to make that you have to tweak something. Excuse me, that you have to alter something. You have to make an adjustment. And then there's decisions that everything is okay, but you have to make a decision anyway. So you're making a decision that's unnecessary. So it's like that old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Edwin, how you doing? Welcome to the show. I appreciate you. That's so much support today. I'm excited because next week I'm going to actually be going live on Facebook and Instagram at the same time with all these other social media platforms. So I'm excited that LMC had a 1-year anniversary and they had some good time. If you're looking at all the stars and the video people that are doing the promotions, that's awesome. So we talked about all the different laws. Excuse me. So I talked about living now with the future in mind, so that if you manifest it now, they could only take it away from you. If you put yourself in the position to obtain something, then the process becomes, it could be boring. It's the truth. And we are driven sometimes by excitement, passion, and looking for ways to stay motivated, And motivation actually comes from education, comes from confidence and knowing things. That's where motivation comes from. Because the more you learn, the more you want to learn, the more you want to understand. And once you get the hang of understanding, so it's like when you read a book, you can't put it down, you have to put the book down. It depends on what that book is teaching you. Because if you're reading a non-fiction book, then those are things that are going to drive you. But if you're reading a book that's fiction, and that drives you, prepare to deal with having to separate the illusion of something versus the reality of it. And there's nothing there. They're realistic. It's not real. Real is genuine. Real is objective. Real is 100%. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So let's keep that in mind. Let's go back to the original concept that we talked about, which was decision making. You have choices in this world. And sometimes you think you have choices that you don't. You invent a choice. And when you're inventing something, you're not thinking logically. You're looking for a way out. You can even distract yourself and try to sneak in the back door of your own subconscious thoughts. Bing! Think about this. You're running away from your subconscious with your conscious, and then you're running away from the conscious with your subconscious. So this is why you're always in a disarray. Make them work together like twins. You understand the DNA? Make them work together. And if you make them work together, your subconscious and your conscious mind, then you're ahead of the game because now you can anticipate anything. The choices that we make should never include emotions. You can't make decisions, or you can't even try to figure out your emotions or your choices or your feelings. Your feelings do not belong in important decisions. Decisions is just see, what that is it's not a decision. A decision takes planning. A decision takes realistic thinking. Ground yourself. Because if you make a decision too quickly, then you're reacting. You're not being proactive. You're not taking the time to see if you even have to make a decision. But you have to be able to distinguish when you leave things alone or when you go full force. It doesn't require for you to utilize that much force, that much drive. Damn yourself. That's what emotional intelligence is recognizing when an emotion is trying to sneak in to a decision that you must develop, strategize, making smart goals, Let's put this into the best perspective possible. Stop allowing yourself to be distracted. You don't even need other people. You distract yourself so much, and the narcissism comes out to blame other people when it's yourself that's distracting yourself. You're having a fight with your subconscious mind. Basically, why? Because you're so stubborn, and you have to argue with yourself. Could it be? No, it can't be. We already had that discussion. Let's move forward. You ever had that discussion with yourself? People say that when you talk to yourself, that's an intelligent thing to do. Other people say, hey, dude, that dude is crazy. He's talking to himself. That's the society that we live in. You can't win. Because you're going to be judged no matter what you do. So if you let the judgment stay where it's at in the mouths of other people, not in your ears, you're halfway there. Influence makes the choices more difficult. The more influences you have that do not pertain to the situation at hand, the more the complexity that it becomes. Unnecessary things go into simple decisions. They become complicated. Especially if you're dealing with somebody else or something else. I'll give you an example. When I used to go mystery shopping and I used to go to the car dealerships, and I used to act like I was a customer. The first thing that they need to ask you is,
Hello.
You're the decision maker. Do you have to call your wife or do you have to call your significant other before you make a decision like that? Because that's what happens. Many times, a car salesman spends all the time with you, does the test drive, the assessment, the get into